Try and get pregnant or get pregnant. You know, the minute we don't.
I know.
The minute I don't pull out, you're pregnant.
I think your guys are slow and they're dying off because you're getting old. So if you could just go ahead and... That'd be great.
My friends, why are you starting this
and welcome
podcast?
to another episode of the Date Your Wife. I'm the Date Your Wife. So
You are the wife of dating your wife.
I am the wife
You are
of
the
all
wife.
wives.
Of all the wives to be spoken of,
wives,
you are the
I'm
first
the
wife.
wife.
You're the first lady wife here in the Date Your Wife podcast. Now, why did we start this podcast way back in the day? We started this podcast. I think the first time we did this was 2018 January.
You were like, we should do podcasting, and I was like, I don't know, whatever. And then
No. Go back to the very beginning when we first started the show.
you know what? Before we even started the show, I remember like when we first moved to California and we were kind of like repairing our relationship. And I remember thinking like, I think you know what always kept, like even though we had hard times together, you and I always had fun together.
Yeah.
Like even when I was like severely like, I don't know if I want to be married. I don't know if I like him. Like we always had this moment of chemistry where we were like best friends and always had fun. And we could like joke around and like be funny together. And I remember thinking like there was a few times we'd be like in the car drive. For some reason, whenever we were driving in a car, it's not we were always like talking and communicating. And like I remember thinking like if we had a camera, if we had this recorded,
It'd be funny as hell.
This is good shit. Not even is it funny, but like it's deep, it's funny. Like we have such a connection on communication.
So this is already foundation of our relationship started there.
It totally did. Like, I mean, now we have great sex. We have a lot of good things going for us. But in the beginning, we had really good communication, which is weird because I feel like I'm a little bit more introverted and more shy. But I don't know if there was just like something about you from the very beginning. It was like it was easy. It was easy to communicate with you. It was easy to have fun with you. And although there's been very many other avenues that have been hard and we've had to work through, like that was like our key point that kind of kept us connected.
I mean, I was turned on by you big time. But also at the same time, I was turned on by like the conversations we had.
Yeah.
I think those conversations kind of ended for a period of time.
But I think honestly, that's why we're still married is because it's like we had that infatuation in the beginning. And yes, I was super young when I met you. But I honestly, even though I was young, I felt like we connected at a deeper level. Like and that's the reason we were able to kind of like make that work is because it's not like we just got married based on like we were young and hot. Like even though we were young and hot,
I had white bleached out hair.
I think
How did you think that was hot?
I thought you had the hottest body. Like I'm such a dude. Like I know. I just how you carried yourself and like. Was it
my body or was it how I carried myself?
No, I loved your shoulders and your arms and like.
Tell him, babe.
Well, that's a turnoff, but I love when you don't know that you're hot. Ladies, don't you love when your man just like walks into a room and he's not like flexing, he's not like look at me, like although men, I think if I'm in lingerie and I walk into a room and I'm like flexing, you're like hell
like,
yeah,
holy shit, get after it. My wife's a stripper.
They're like please do this more often. Whereas I think, and I don't know if I can speak for all women, but I like it when you're just like casually shirtless and ripped walking through the kitchen. Like,
and I'm like, hey, just heading in here to give me some more tilapia.
Don't flex. Like, just know like you look good and casual. Or like, you know, it's so hot.
Tell me. I'm ready because you're turned on by thinking about it. I love that you're turned on. This is the first time it's been on the show that you've been turned on.
No.
Let's go.
I love when you don't know that I'm in the kitchen and you come in from surfing and you have your surf suit down and you don't see me and I'm like, oh, this
really?
Yeah.
That's a moment.
Now every fucking time you come in, you're gonna be like, you're gonna be like, I ruined my moment. I have ruined
Look at my
moment.
Wife looking at me.
No,
through the window.
it's like your energy is different. Like you're like when you used to do like CrossFit stuff, you'd come in like, I'm gonna rip your face off. And surfing, you come in like light and happy and like there's something sexy about like the surf suit hanging off. You're like,
oh God, you've fallen in love with a surfer. This means I've arrived. I've become a surfer. I need to grow out long hair just so I can be cool like the young kids. Grow it all out and then whip it back. It only looks cool when it's dry or when it's wet. It looks fairly cool. There's a moment out there on the break where
there's a moment.
Every guy, Keith, one of my best friends does not have long hair, but Keith continues to flip his hair like he's a long-haired surfer.
It's because he's your man.
He's
boyfriend.
Like,
he's your boy.
He's my man boyfriend.
I was gonna say he's not your work wife. He's your
He's just my best friend.
He's your best friend, but tell him about Costa Rica, babe.
Yeah, well, it was a moment. We decided to go to Costa Rica together.
I'll
go
tell you
surfing.
about my moment after you tell me about your moment.
And all right, so we go to Costa Rica, and this is actually important because I would never go on trips with any guys.
I know you have
ever,
friends.
our
and part
whole
of me,
marriage.
You know
I
what's
never
so
did
funny is
until
like
the last couple years.
Part of me is like irritated. Like you're like, I'm going to have fun. I'm like, why are you going to have fun? But then I have this moment where I'm like, freedom, fucking freedom. I'm like, girls' nights. Like I'm not talking about girls' nights with my girls. I'm talking about girls' nights with like kids. I'm like, we're gonna watch Frozen every day. We're gonna.
And you did.
We did. It was like the best. There was no judgment. I have like a margarita every single fucking night, and I'm like passing out to Frozen. Best nights of my life.
And you were giving me a lecture about passing out while on the couch, but you were doing it yourself while I was gone. That was an exaggeration.
I don't pass out.
Okay, so I'm going to Costa Rica. You're having freedom with the girls. I'm going to Costa Rica. Keith and I have this idea. Keith likes to make jerseys. So we play billiards. He made us jerseys. We went to Waco to surf park. He made us jerseys. Like not just me and him, like a whole crew of 6 or 7 of us. It's kind of cool. Well, he had a plan to make some jerseys to go to Costa Rica, which I thought was a cool idea too, because it was the same crew that we went to Waco Surf Park with. He shows up to my house in the morning to go, and we've not even called each other, but we're dressed exactly the fucking same. We have the same gray Hurley shorts on. We have the same
like,
Rico.
Who wears that hat?
We have the same Peaky Blinders hat.
It's like not a normal hat that guys wear.
They're not the exact same white tennis shoes, but they're basically the same white tennis shoes. We're both wearing ankle socks. We both have a black vest.
I legit, when I saw him, I'm like, cute. They like coordinated so much.
Yeah,
like they were like, dude, what shoes and hat are you wearing? Wear your light gray shorts, you know, the ones that come up above the knee. I was like, that is some detail.
Jesse, Keith's wife, is dropping him off and looks at us and goes, oh, you two couldn't look more stupid. Look at you guys. Oh, look at you.
She didn't say stupid.
She'll look at you too. Your boyfriend wore the matching. So she says stuff like this and she's joking around.
I pull in and I'm like, these two cuties are heading out together.
So me and Keith think we are the coolest guys in the entire airport. We're like, we're fucking awesome. We're walking around. We got jerseys. We're making up stories.
In your mind, you were like athletes headed to your game.
We're global surf in a global surf community. We're heading to a global surf tournament. So we get on the plane, we're sitting in first class, and we're still thinking we're fucking awesome. We're heading to Costa Rica, and our waitress comes up, and our stewardess comes up and asks a question.
Did you think she was hitting on you?
I didn't think she was hitting on me at all. She was. Everybody talks to Keith.
Do all men think that when women talk to them, they might be hitting on them?
No, I don't think that. I don't think that. Well, legitimately, though, with Keith, most women are hitting on him, which I know sounds weird to you. It's just like the guy constantly, women just like to talk to him. So anyways, we're sitting there, and the waitress comes up, a server, the stewardess, and she says, oh my God, you have tattoos, and he has tattoos, and you guys have the same hats, and you have the same jersey. And the whole time I'm like, yeah, that's right. We're an international surf team. You know this. And then she looks down and she's like, well, tell me about your tattoo. And Keith goes, well, this right here is from my daughter, and this right here is from my wife. And she stopped in her tracks, and she goes, your wife? Now, at this moment, Keith and I start to recognize that possibly we've looked like the gayest couple that's ever walked through the airport in our entire lives.
I mean, I thought you looked cute.
No, but listen, I don't have anything wrong. I have nothing wrong with gay couples outside of the fact that me and my wife are funny. Me and my wife are obviously together, and you got Keith and his wife are together, and we got a bunch of kids, like individually in our relationships. But here's a power of perception, though. I'm thinking we look like a badass Olympic surf team, and the rest of the market is looking like, oh, look at the cute gay couple going on their anniversary.
Well, you know.
But if you look at Keith and I, that's a strange couple, period.
Not really.
Like,
I mean, you matched.
So
I'll tell you, though, like, it's when Ani and I work together, like, we're both very alpha women.
People think you're lesbians.
And we started doing, like, photo shoots together to promote our podcast, and I joke around, like, legit, I'm like, dude, this is like our lesbian, this is like our engagement photo shoot. And she's like, oh my God. And like at one point in our photo shoot today, I even like leaned down and I was like, will you marry me? But you know what? I mean. Hey,
listen, even if you got the perception, and I have nothing against gay or lesbian. No. We have tons of gays and lesbians in our world, and we love them. They're amazing, right? I have a problem with all the Qs and the whatever and what are the fuck down the road and the new like super straight thing that's coming out, whatever. That's a whole topic for another day. Here's a big point about going to Costa Rica, though. It's not about jerseys not being, confused as like a power couple with my best friend. Oh, you guys are a cute power couple.
What?
It was the fact that I have no guilt and shame in taking time for me to go do things for me.
But that's good for you because you...
But I never used to.
But you know what is so funny is I have to like force you to take family vacations. You have a hard time with family vacations. You like me and you vacations because you get laid a lot.
A lot.
But like kid vacations, even when the nanny's there, you get all like puckered in your butthole or something. I don't know.
Notice I went on a surf trip to Costa Rica and I was in and out in 5 days. So when we go to Mexico for like 8 or 9 days, I'm like,
oh my God, it's never been more than 5 or 6 days. Come on.
No, Europe was long. That was 8 to 10 days, and then Mexico was 7 nights and 8 days. 7 nights and 8 days.
Okay.
That's a lot of days.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's okay, so we don't even get on that vacation.
It was 6 nights.
It was 7 nights, but you know,
it was 6 nights.
It's 7.
But I'll let that slide.
I'll let that
slide.
I'll let you slide.
Fine.
Here's the
It's
deal,
fine.
though. Look at the piece
We'll agree
here.
to disagree.
Look at the piece here, though. We both get excited about the other person leaving.
You know what? Not
because you're leaving tomorrow with the girls, and I'm
what?
excited that you're going to Mexico.
Yeah, but you know what?
And it's just me and the baby.
Here's the concept of the podcast. It's important to have family trips, and it's also important to have space. Like, because I feel like we had so much family trips. We had like Christmas.
Lots.
Then we had
8 days in Mexico.
And it was just like, like when you were leaving, I was just like, oh, that sounds nice. Like, I think we both wanted a little space, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, it was great because we came back, we had great sex. It was wonderful.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing. Like, before you left, I loaded you up, so I knew you'd be.
Now let's talk about this loading them up strategy because I approve of it. I'd like to leave. I'd like to leave more often just for the loading them up strategy.
This is my strategy as a wife. Like, if don't put yourself, first of all, don't put yourself in situations that are bad situations, but also help your man out to not put himself into a thought situation later down the road if he's traveling. Meaning, like, if he's traveling, like, yeah, I'm going to make sure that he's like, my mind's a little bit blown, and I'm only thinking about my wife, which means like consistent sex leading up to when they leave, to where like their bucket's full, like their
bucket's empty.
Their bucket's empty.
In my case, the bucket's empty.
Their bucket's empty, but you know what I mean.
You didn't used to do this, though. You didn't care. Like, I mean, I go to Costa Rica
because I didn't like you that much. I was just like.
So you wanted me to have thoughts while I was gone?
I didn't care. I was like, I'm
care.
gonna have my thoughts. You can have your thoughts.
Did you actually have thoughts while I was gone? Not then. I mean, like back in the day. Like, would you like, oh man, I can't wait to have sex with another guy?
I think I was like so annoyed by men in general that I just was like, I just want to work and sleep and eat.
All right, so let's look at this. We're getting a lot of principles here. One, take trips by yourself because it helps create your own persona outside of the relationship. Yeah. Number 2, if you're going to go on one of you's going to go on a trip, you got to connect before you go.
Yeah.
So I was leaving, and it was surprising to me. I mean, the fact that we had sex 4 times and we had 4 nights in a row, and like I'm straight with you. It's not like I come once. Like this was like multiple. Like the factory was out of supplies. Well, like COVID-19 had hit. There was no more manufacturing coming out of China, aka out of these nuts. Anyways, we going down the place.
Did you say that?
Yeah, that was some of the flashback from high school. These nuts.
Yeah. No.
I get down to Costa Rica though.
Women don't need that though.
I have no sexual thoughts whatsoever.
Women
for
don't.
5 days.
Women don't need that though. Like I'm going.
All women don't.
I don't know.
I think you might need it.
I don't need it as much as men need it, but I need connected time for sure. Like like I'm leaving town tomorrow with the older girls, and I was like, hey, like I had an event all week. Like I'm pretty exhausted. Plus I did photos and some other stuff going on. Plus our teenager's been kind of a nutcase, and I was like, but I can't leave on a vacation feeling like frustrated. I need time where like I relax and I connect with you. Yeah. So it can be sexual, it can be connection, but maybe it's that way for men too. But I still believe that men are just like more sexual creatures. Yeah. And but I think that women still want that same thing, but it just comes with connecting and sex. You know what I mean?
Connection. So look at the strategy 2 then. Strategy 2 is connect deeply with your spouse before you leave, so that your focus and your mind is on your spouse when you're gone. I can remember many, many trips where that was not the case. We'd been like a week and you know what used to happen is you would be angry at me that I was leaving. And then we would have no sex for a week. And then I would leave for like 4 or 5 days for business and then come back and you'd be angry at me because I was gone.
I think I was angry because I also, as a woman, I had a hard time letting go of having help. So men have no problem hiring help, like whether they're broke as fuck or whatever it is. Like they are like, hey, I'm going to surf, I'm going to work, I'm going to golf, I'm going to whatever. Like they will make their priorities find a babysitter to come watch them, even though they don't have the money to golf or to pay the babysitter. Like they will figure it out. But women, we have this weird guilt where we're like, I can't go get a pedicure, I have kids. And so then we put that guilt and we project it on men. We're like, well, screw you. I can't go get a pedicure, I got to do this, I got to do that. And it's like, for me, I don't know if that's one of the reasons I work, because I'm like, I don't like feeling, I hate feeling that guilt. And so I'm like, well, if I work, then I know that I can use my own money. But even then, I talk to so many stylists and artists that are like, they're like working all the time, and then they're like, and then I come home on the weekends and I do laundry and I do this, and I'm like, okay,
sucks.
let me get this straight. If any man goes to work as much as you're going to work, you better believe he's either A, really messy and doesn't fucking care about his laundry, or B, he's hiring it out. He has no guilt about it. He just factors in like his car payment. I'm like, so why do you think that your story is that you need to go to work and now you need to come home and do this and now you need to come and do this and now you need to come and do this, and then you're projecting all this anger and this guilt on whoever your significant other is because like maybe you just need to hire out help. But it's hard for women to let go.
Yeah, we used to get after me all the time about it. You'd be like, and my answer is always like, well, if you don't like it, I'll hire somebody to do it.
But even when we didn't have a lot of money, I was like, babe, I'm cool to like clean. I'm like, but can we hire somebody like once a month? And you're like, totally. Like, I definitely think you should do that. And I remember it was so funny. One day, I'm like organizing, I'm making beds. And you're like, what are you doing? Isn't like this is our one day a month, the cleaner's coming.
Yeah, you were cleaning before the cleaners came.
And I was cleaning before the cleaner. And I go, well, yeah, you got to pick up before. And he goes, I don't get it. You got to clean before the cleaners come? I'm like, oh, yeah. And it's so funny.
I was like, that's the stupidest fucking plan I've ever heard of in my entire life.
This is how women think. Like even Ani, who she's only 31, but she was like, she works her ass off for me, and she's like, I could tell she was like drowning, and I was like, dude, I pay you well, and I need you to understand, like, your lack of hiring somebody to come do your laundry and clean your house cannot affect my business. Are we clear? And she was like, so she finally hires somebody to help, and then she's like,
she loves it.
And now she loves it, but then one day she comes to me, she's like, I was picking up before the cleaners. I was making the bed, and I go, why are you cleaning before the cleaners clean? She's like, what? So I feel like,
and my legacy lives on.
So it's like these little things where I'm like, no, I feel like it's like you kind of gave me permission, then I'm giving her permission, then I'm like, and then I joke around with her. I'm like, guess what else you can ask the cleaner to do? She's like, what? I'm like, your laundry. She's all, no. I was like, yeah. She's like, I don't know if I can do that.
And your food
I'm like,
making.
and you can order groceries when they're there and tell them to put them away. She's like, no. I'm like, yeah, because you work your ass off, and then when you're home and you come into a nice clean home and your groceries are stocked, how do you feel? She's like, amazing.
And where do you get to focus your energy?
On whoever you want, on your relationships, on you, like whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, you used to kind of give me the little guilt trip. You had to come in and be like, well, I did this and this and this and this and this and this. And I was like, okay.
I still do that, but because sometimes I'm like, but I'm not like rude about it. Like even like this last weekend, I was like, you're like, oh, I'm doing a pool tournament. And the reason I was bugged about that is because Rosie, our nanny, had asked me the week before. She's like, hey, like I told her, I'm like, I'm going to Mexico. I have an event the first of the week. I'm like, plan on like a full week, Monday through Friday, long hours. She's like, what about the weekend? And I was like, let me ask Garrett. I asked you. You're like, no, I don't need her. So I told her that. So then you told me, you're like, you're so funny. You're like, I planned a pool tournament. And I'm like, I told Rosie she shouldn't have to work. And you go, why do you feel so guilty? I'm like, I don't. You were the one that told me that. And you go, you don't want me to have fun? And I was like, literally, you're shooting the messenger.
Do you sometimes have a hard time with me having fun?
No, I don't care.
Okay.
But I do. But I knew that I have an event coming back from being out of town. And I just was like.
So you were looking after our team member?
Yeah. Okay. I was looking after a team member. And also I was like. It was funny because I almost asked Rosie to work over the weekend, and then I was like, no, just have her work all day Friday and then spend time with the kids. And Isla is so freaking cute. I can't even handle it. Like when I have those 2 days straight with her, like
I was irrelevant when I came home.
Oh my God.
She's like, hi, Dad. And she went right back to you.
Oh, she just really.
Which means when you come back from Mexico,
I know most
she won't
people
even know your
think their
name.
kids are cute, but like Isla is another level of cuteness. Like baby mom, like her personality matches how freaking cute she is. Like I can't. I want to eat her.
Well, she was. You've been saying that about our kids from the time they're young.
I love her so much.
And
just get her.
Are we gonna have another baby?
I don't know. I kind of want one
like
more.
We talked about it and screwed around, but is this like a real legit thing? Are we going against the will of the gods?
I'm
was a Viking
open.
comment.
I'm open to it because I'm like, God, like I thought I would feel like so fulfilled, but I almost feel like God gave me the most beautiful child ever to make me have another one. Like to be, I don't know, like she's so freaking
Do you feel
cute.
do you feel like you're gonna would you want to be pregnant again?
I hate being pregnant.
Okay.
When we were like, I love being pregnant. I'm like, fuck you. No, just kidding. But I hate being pregnant like so much.
Okay.
But
it seems like it goes fast. I mean,
it goes fast,
not for
and
you,
I love
I'm sure,
babies. So.
Well, it's crazy because I was like almost 2 years old. She's coming up in July. She'll be 2. That means you were pregnant for 9 months. She's almost 2 years old. It's like 3 years ago we got pregnant, right?
I know. I have to remind myself because in the moment it feels like slow motion.
It does.
But now I'm like, I'm fit. I have this cute baby. I'm like, it's such a small period of time in the perspective of like a child. So I have to remind myself of that. I'm like, and I'm always like, I'm not going to snap back. I'm not going to do it. But I'm like, I started young. Even with Isla, I had her. I mean, I'm going to be 38. I was going to say 7. I'm 37.
Oh, going to be 38 here in a
I'm
month.
going to be 38. My goal is if I have another one to do it
by 40.
Like at 39. So like try next year and have it before I'm.
Try and get pregnant or get pregnant. You know, the minute we don't.
I know.
The minute I don't pull out, you're pregnant.
Well, I know, but I
am loaded with Navy SEALs.
Okay.
These are warrior SEALs. They're intense. I got soldiers. These guys, I don't get like
really
one that makes it to the door.
I
get like 70 that make it to the door. They're that fucking powerful. They get to the door. They don't ask for permission. They just go straight in.
Maybe I have a powerful.
Maybe you have an ability to just take the snipers off the roof and stop shooting my guys as they're coming in.
I think your guys are slow and they're dying off because you're getting old. So if you could just go ahead and that'd be great.
Oh, so like here's the deal. Like last topic is this. This conversation has come up quite a bit with guys who are in the initial struggle phase of putting their marriage back together, right? It would have been me and Danielle back in 2008, 2009, 2010, rough. 2011, rough. How long do you think it took for you and I to go from the pit of 2008 to 2011 to where we are right now? Like, at what point in the equation did you feel like...
I always felt like there was like light at the end of the tunnel. So it was like, it wasn't like it was
even in 2008, 9, 10, 11?
I told you, like there was always like moments where you're like, oh, like whether it was moments like sitting on the trampoline with our kids and like holding hands and like just being like, okay, we can do this. You know what I mean? And I just think that those moments are what keep a marriage alive. And
were you looking for the moments, or do you feel like the moments were looking for you?
I don't.
Meaning, were you kind of like wanting to see moments?
No, I don't think that. No.
So they were looking for you. The moments found you and told you.
If you are present in the moment, you appreciate the moment. And I think there it wasn't always shitty. And those you could have one great moment and 4 shitty moments, and that great moment just kind of gave me hope, I guess. And so I don't know. I felt like, but it progressively kind of got better, like year after year after year and after year. And we still have some of the same struggles we've always had. But now it's kind of like we've gone through so much that when I backpedal, I'm like, come on.
Well, if we both backpedal, like, there's a backstop with each other.
If we backpedal, I'm kind of like, you're stronger than this. Like, are you really going to give away your power because of these thoughts you're having? Are you really going to give away your power because you're pissed off with Garrett? Are you really going to give away your power because he did this? Like, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I feel like we've gone through so much that I'm like, I have these moments. I'm like, come on. And I quickly like course correct if I feel like we're weaving the wrong direction. You know what I mean? I think we both do that. And I think that's kind of like, I think most people just quit before they actually give it time.
Yeah,
they almost want it to fail so they can be like, oh, thank God I'm done. But then you just take those problems to the next marriage. Like if you can't there might be some toxic relationships that you probably should just not be together. But I didn't feel like that was our situation. So even though we weren't on the same page, I was like, I'm willing to kind of like put in the work, and we had enough good positive moments where I just, again, felt like there was light at the end of the tunnel.
So this was a topic that came up today in one of our trainings for Wake Up Warrior Challenge, which, by the way, this is the backbone foundational experience that just over 1,000 men and women are having every single month with us here at Wake Up Warrior. If you're not familiar with it, you can check it out, wakeupwarriorchallenge.com. It's $100, 42-day challenge, daily interactive. I promise you, there's nothing you put $100 into that will come back with a higher return on investment than what you'll find inside the Wake Up Warrior Challenge. So go check that out. But there was a conversation we're having during one of our live. I do a live experience every single week with about 3 challenges are going on at any given time, so about 1,500 people. And we bring up hot seats and we talk to people and we talk through things. We have this guy who's been talking the last couple of weeks about him and his wife. And he kind of flip-flops and goes back and forth. I want a divorce. I don't want a divorce. I love her. I don't love her. We were supposed to be together. We were never supposed to be together. And it's just very frustrating for him, stressful place to be at. And he's learning the power of the stack and living by the code. But one of the things that I looked at him today and I said, listen, man, you keep playing this game and he'll get into this place like, I've been changing. I said, bro, you've been changing for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I was like, but you've been an asshole for 20 years. So like 3 weeks of being aspirational does not offset 20 years of being an asshole.
And you know what's so crazy? I genuinely think, I'm like, if you were an asshole for 5 years, guess what? It might take you 10 years to make up for that.
You think it takes double to overcome asshole?
I
don't think it
not
takes
double, but it definitely doesn't. If you were an asshole for 5, it might take 5, and then there's light at the end of the tunnel. And like most people, you know what's so funny? What's interesting is even in my class, like I just recently taught a hair class. I'm like, how long have you guys been following? A lot of them were like 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. And I was like, 7 years and you're finally taking a class, you finally joined my academy, you're finally here. And they said, yeah, I think I got to this place where I'm still in the same place and you keep going.
Yeah.
And I thought that 5 years was a long time. And now 5 years has gone by and I'm like, wow, I'm still right here. And look at how much it like you've accomplished. And I was like, but it's so crazy because people always want short-term gratification.
I want instant gratification. They want to fix in a weekend and they want to change their marriage in a month.
But the problem is that snowball. So they think they just have these short bursts of short gratification that are like short gratifications for 20 years. And you're like, congratulations.
Well, the worst part is like you step back from this and you see couples that literally are in the same fucking place they were 10 years ago, and they're not any happier now than they were then, and they wouldn't do what was required because they were unwilling to. There's a statement I was using today. I said, listen, if you invested 10 months, if you invested 2 years, and investing 2 years of really going all in on yourself and learning you, building you, and then you went all in on your marriage, if you invested 4 years to pull this off, but you got back 40 years, the last 40 years of your marriage were just pure fucking fire, you would never tell me that was a sacrifice.
And imagine what that would do to if you had children. Imagine what that would do to your business. And imagine what that would do to those that work with you or for you. Like, you don't understand the snowball effect of you playing small and settling. It's just crazy. And we see it a lot. And I think because we've gone through so much and we've gone through this path of growth, when we see that, we're like, how? But you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. So I kind of wrap up our show today. I was confronted. I was so proud of this guy for what he did and what the courage he has to be just super honest. One of the calls we were doing, he was live with us. His wife could hear through the door him just being honest. He was breaking down and crying. He's like, I don't know if I love her. I don't know if I want to be with her. And she's this and that. And I mean, it was brutal. It was not brutal in a bad sense for me. I hear this every single day in what I do. But the comment I came back to him and I said, listen, you keep looking at this as a short-term fix. There is no short-term fix. And I said, here's the bigger problem. Yeah. If you get divorced, which I'm not telling you should or shouldn't, if you want to get divorced, get divorced. But understand that the guy that's been an asshole that created this relationship is still going to be the asshole that you are. Which means you're going to leave and still be an asshole. And you think that you're going to go find some woman that's going to be drawn to you, but you're still an asshole. Which means any woman that's drawn to you in that new place, you're not going to magically become great. Hey, I'm a shitty husband, and now I'm going to be great. It's like I look at, a couple guys in our neighborhood and different people who they get divorced and then lose 60 pounds. You're like, why the fuck didn't you lose 60 pounds when you're married? Right? Why didn't you get focused on like this attitude and intensity and energy? Where the fuck was this guy during your marriage? Why did he just have to show up when you were chasing a new vagina?
A lot of people do that though. Like when they're like on like their revenge, it's like they're like, I'll show you.
I'll show you. I'll be my best self.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Like, well, what would have fucking happened if you'd been your best self when you were married? So I looked at him and said, listen, you're going to go out and this is not going to be easy. Not going to be easy at all. And I love it because guys are funny because they'll like point the fingers at their wives and I'm like, well, my wife's this and she's a little overweight. And I'm looking at him, I said, bro, you're carrying an extra 50 pounds. What the fuck are you talking about?
The standard.
Why are you looking at your wife as not in shape when you are not nearly?
Successful men think they don't have to be in shape. They're like, well, I'm successful, so I have to have a skinny wife.
That's why we teach a Warrior's Way, which is body being balanced business. So here's the deal. Last message with this whole thing is this. Get clear about what areas you two want to be as a couple. Right? Part of what we talk about here in Warrior and what we talk about in DKW and what Danielle and I are constantly speaking to is we got a vision for who we wanted to be as a couple and a family. And we had simply asked the question, what would have to be true and who would we have to become? Like, what would have to be true about our life for the reality that we saw in the future to become possible? We went to Date with Destiny in 2016. That's really where I feel like we cemented our marriage and our opportunity to grow. That year was a very rough year for us. If you read Attack with Stack book, I share the exact text sequence conversation. Danielle and I went back and forth where I was encouraging her to date other men. Like we were done. Like we were at the final end. It was either going to shift and we were both going to submit and we're going to move into that final stage of salvation together as a couple, or we were going to fucking be divorced. I was going to shut down Wake Up Warrior, go on to financial services. Danielle would have gone on doing what she done. We both would be other people right now and we'd be doing different things. Not necessarily bad or good, but shit, it would be a whole lot not as powerful as what we're doing right now. So we're in that place and we make this decision as clear vision, and then we went to work. So people look at our house, they look at our cars, they look at the things we're doing, look at our trips, our travel, our lifestyle, they look at who we are, and they're like, oh man, that would be nice. And I said, yeah, that would be nice. if you were willing to work your fucking ass off for a decade,
but even
as individuals and as a couple.
And even staying consistent. Like you said, like your one guy was like, well, I did it for 3 weeks. And you're like, cool, do it for a year. And then guess what? Do it for another year. Even everything we've experienced, like it's like a year will go by and you're like, I don't know if a lot changed. But then 2 years goes by and you're like, okay, I can see
3
a dent.
goes by and you're like, holy shit.
And then all of a sudden, like 5 and 6, and you're like, okay. Yeah. And you can start appreciating the work that you put in, that in a month time, in 6 months time, and in a year time, you're like, it's not really working. But if you have the power to stay consistent for a long period of time, you're gonna have success. But you have to have consistency with also this ability to like cross-check yourself and be willing to grow and learn along the way. You can't just be consistent at being shitty. You have to be consistent at working towards a change in yourself and your relationship.
Yeah, consistently shitty just gives you more shitty.
We always joke around with my students. We're like, yay, you're a little less shitty today.
It's true.
But it's true because a lot of times, even in business, I was like thinking it's so funny when we had this class and the women come in and we were like, okay, so Danielle, I think I should expand my salon. I'm like, you want to expand your salon? She's like, yeah. And I'm like, do you have a full book of MBR, which is the extension technique I created? And she's like, well, no. And I was like, okay, do you have an assistant? Well, no. And I was like, how about we don't get overwhelmed? Because this is what we do as human nature. We like look at the whole process and we're like, I need to start here. And you're like, no. And then you immediately wonder why you're overwhelmed, but you're trying to start like way in the future. And you're like, okay, no wonder you were like, fuck it, I'm out. Because you just wanted to buy a salon when you haven't even built up your clientele and you don't have an assistant.
You have 3 clients and one of them's named Mary and she gets a curler set on Thursday.
Yeah, and I'm like, so I said, so understand to live at the level that you're at and commit to growing. I'm like, and take it one task at a time, one day at a time, one step at a time. What do you need to work on right now? She's like, well, my end beads, well, my stitching. Well, I'm like, exactly. Perfect your craft. And when you feel really fucking solid about the result that you give to clients, market your little ass off. Then when you can market your little ass off and you get clients in the door, then hire an assistant. I said, you're thinking too far in the future and you're going to fail because you're going to get this pocket of overwhelm and you're like, it's not for me. But if you start with the level of where you're at and stay consistent and committed to growth, you will get results.
So one of the consistent games inside of this show that we want to encourage you to do to be a little less shitty in your relationship every single week is date night. No friends.
I'm starving. Can we go on our date night?
We are. No friends, no kids, you and your spouse together, eating your sleeves together, having a good time, being starving, doing podcasts.
It's funny because if you saw this podcast, I have the biggest, my sleeves are like literally as big as my head.
They're huge and puffy.
Somebody actually messaged me on Instagram. My Instagram is Danielle K. White. They messaged me and they said, how do I watch your guys' podcast? I love listening to, but I really love watching you guys. And then so I told them, you can go to dateyourwifenow.com to see us, or you can download it. I have it on my podcast app, and I like listening to podcasts in my car because you can listen to like 3 times speed. And I'm just used to consuming content when people sound like chickmunks. But I love it. I'm like, I consume so much in like 10 minutes. So you can also get it. You can download the podcast app, go and listen to it weekly. We're trying to get back to doing it.
We're not trying. We did. We've done it every single week for 3 weeks.
And I'm pretty sure my insides are eating themselves.
We're going. We are here. It's over. The show's over. You're amazing. Have a great rest of your week, guys. We look forward to seeing you next week. Again, remember, how can you take one step forward to be just a little less shitty as a partner by going on date night this week? We'll talk to you next week after Danielle gets back from Mexico. Ya se va a Mexico, mi esposa a Mexico, y me quedo en mi casa con mi niño.
What is this song? It's not.
Ciao, Bella. We'll talk to you guys next week.